my goodness.
Unbelievable. Fabio Wardley.
Justice Huni just got knocked out in the 10th round.
Every single round, and he fights a jackhammer. Oh my word! At the end of the last round,
It was wow.
I said, yeah.
So first, let me say this. I'm TstreeT Controversy with 5v360. We're here real time. Now, I did a preview video with my colleague Big J, Australian bloke, that Justice Huni is a very skilled and good fighter. He's the better overall technical fighter than Fabio Wardley, but Fabio Wardley has 17 KOs in his 18 wins. And the power showed up. I'm talking about Huni was putting on a masterclass boxing performance. I'm talking about one of the biggest flash knockouts, I guess you can say, well, at least that I've seen this year. Maybe it's the adrenaline rushing, where Huni was winning the fight. I'm talking about, it looked like Wardley was done, gassing out. Looks like he was about to, lose in what should be a wide unanimous decision. And he gets knocked out. I want to see what punch it was, because in reality, it looked like it was a body shot, or it looks like maybe he dipped down and he kind of hit him in the chin. So Fabio Wardley's power is real. I feel bad for Justice Huni because he was right there on the cusp of greatness. And this is one of those type of losses where he may not even recover. By the way, here was the crowd. It was a nice, I'm not going to say nice, it was a rainy day over there in Ipswich. So where's Huni? They haven't showed him yet in the ring. I bet people on social media are sick, especially the hardcore Huni fans, because he was cruising. I'm talking about cruising to a win. And now Fabio Wardley, oh, there's Huni right there. He looking better. He's up. Damn, Frank Warren be whooping Eddie Hearn fighters. By the way, there's talk of Dylan White taking on Moses Atama in August. Shout out to Fabio Wardley, living up to the hype, but it's definitely some things he's got to work on. Let's see if we can get this knockout. Oh wait, hold on. I didn't want I can't. If you're watching The Zone and you ever see those numbers pop up on the screen and those letters, that's usually okay. I'm gonna get you a slow motion replay. Right there on the button. That was it. He leaned right into it. He fell right into that. That was it. And Fabio Wardley needed that shot. Let's see if we got a clip I can slow down on social media. Here's one more. And just went down like a sack of bricks. So the questions coming into this fight was how Huni's chin was going to hold up. And the power of Fabio Wardley, would it be the defining factor? Now, here we are. We got like a little bit of look at Frank Warren, because he was getting kind of concerned. So let's see here while we're waiting for them to read the particulars. Especially, I want to see what the cards were if they show them going into the 10th round. Look, right there. Let me see if I can slow it down some more for you before they start reading out the cards. Right here. Boom. And look, you knew it was over, because look, with the knees, his whole core collapsed. You knew it was over right then and there. By the way, the WBA now has 10 champions. 3 champions. They have now Usyk is the WBA Super World Champion, Kubrat Pulev as the regular champion, and now Fabio Wardley as the interim champion. I would want to see this fight again, but they're not going into no rematch. No way. Huni's going to have to work his way up. Unfortunately, this is how boxing politics works. And also, he was the B-side. But I would love to see it again, but I doubt it'll be happening next. Let's listen and take your time out, like the video, subscribe.
Here is the official time. 1 minute 42 seconds of round number 10. Our referee in charge, John Latham, reaches the count of 10. Therefore, your winner by way of knockout, still undefeated, and now the WBA interim heavyweight champion of the world, from Ipswich, England, Fabio Wardley.
And the crazy part is, Huni was boxing the perfect fight that he was supposed to box. Like he was living.
Well,
Let me mute that. He was living up to the hype. And I was starting to get excited. But one thing when it comes to them power punchers, man, you know you can never count them out. And at that point in time in the fight, as you can see, halfway through the 10th round, all Wardley had left was the power. He had to catch him with a big one and end it, and he ended it. Let's listen in.
Wow. He landed some big right hands in your career.
See what social media is
saying.
saying.
Be the biggest and the best right hand you've ever landed before.
Yeah, look, before we go anywhere, before we say anything, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone in this building tonight. I've been on this weird and wonderful journey that is boxing, and I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I am without everyone in this arena right here. Every chant, everyone that's bought a ticket, thank you. It's not just for me, this is for all of us here.
Well said, Fabio. It's been an incredible 10-year journey to get you here from white collar.
This was worse than Wilder Ortiz because that fight was kind of close-ish. Not as close as this. I mean, not as far as this before Wardley got the stoppage.
That 10th round, was it just a case of, let's just show you what got me here. Let's just start throwing some right hands and one of them was going to land?
Yeah, look, I don't profess to be any kind of Usyk, Justice Huni, someone with all the skills. But one thing I do know how to do is win fights. Dig deep, find a bit of heart, bite down on that gum shield and find a way to win. And that's one thing I had to do tonight.
He did.
And you did it. You looked at times upset with yourself. You started landing some good shots and I could see you ringside speaking to yourself. Why were you so disappointed?
He was getting tired and everything.
Yeah, look, Justice Huni is a great operator, but no matter what, I'm going to be aggravated myself because we've rinsed, repeated, drilled everything over and over again. I know this game plan down to a T, and I should have performed better in some of them rounds. It's not always the way it goes. Sometimes you just have to find a different way to win. So, look, we pulled something out of the bag.
You certainly did. Was he a bit better than you expected? Obviously, look, your team were getting ready for Jarrell Miller. That's not Jarrell Miller, right? Completely different style of fighting. Did he surprise you at times in there?
Yeah, look, he's a great boxer, some great skills, and he showed me everything he had tonight. He pulled out all sorts of different tricks. I really didn't expect to kind of bank rounds like that with Justice. I had him hurt, had him going in the first round as well, so maybe that gave me a bit too much confidence going into the following rounds, but we rejigged, got my head, screwed it back on, and stuck to the game plan.
It takes two to tango. Let's bring in Justice soon if we can. Justice, come in. I think you can hear the crowd reception, Justice. Incredible performance. For 9.5 rounds, Justice, you're absolutely perfect.
This is Wardley's mandatory.
You switched off for a second, and that's all it takes. But you fought incredibly there in Justice.
That's my curse. You know, I even said before this fight, you know, it only takes one split second to switch off, and you know, it happened tonight. But you know, credit to Fabio, his team. You know, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to come here in Ipswich and perform in front of you. He's a real champion, and yeah, get behind him. He's doing good things.
What was it? You seem to be in your groove very quickly. Your legs maybe look shaky after the end of the first round, but apart from that, it seemed to be perfect. Was it a case of maybe overconfidence, wanting to trade with him when you didn't need to?
Oh, he's just an awesome fighter, man. You know,
he fell into the perfect shot.
And he got the one. He got the win tonight, and he deserves it, man. So, you know, credit to Fabio, his team, like I said, and thank you, Ipswich, for the opportunity to perform here. I'm grateful.
Incredible performance, Justice. Congratulations, well done. Frank, let's bring you in very quickly. Going into this fight, Fabio was ranked #1 with the WBA. I knew you were a bit nervous there, Frank, with what was going on in that one. But he got the job done.
Do you know what? Eat your heart out. What's his name? The American, the big puncher, Deontay Wilder. I mean, that was a Deontay Wilder moment. I mean,
yeah, all right.
Out, but he is what he is. He's got a big heart. He's a powerful man, and again, stops another one. That's what he does. He stops people. He hurts them, as I've said, but you know, I've got to take my hat off to Huni, to Justice. He boxed extremely well. It's a fabulous fight.
Let me see if I can find that scorecard.
The crowd here were amazing. They lifted him, lifted their hero. It was just brilliant. Ipswich, you've done him proud, honestly. And he did Ipswich proud. It's been a brilliant night. Now he's the interim champion, and he's going to get a shot at a full title.
I was going to ask you know what happens next? Everyone wants to know what happens, right? I mean, he's got the job done against Justice Huni. You've got all the heavyweights, Frank. I mean, you can match him up perfectly well. There's a big fight, July 19th. Your boy, Daniel Dubois against Alexander Usyk. Is he in line to take on the winner of that?
After that fight, it will actually settle the heavyweight division down to know who's holding the 4 belts, and then they've got to make their mandatories. The first mandatory is the WBO. Then it's down the line, but he's there.
Okay.
He's there for it. He's just saying he's got baby's about to be.
I'll explain what he means by that.
A week's time, so he's going to take a bit of time out now. But let the dust settle. The most important thing is he's in the position, and he's done that through sheer grit, sheer heart, and it was amazing what he did.
Final one, Frank. You put on a few stadium fights in your time. The rain came down here. The fans still came out in their numbers. 20,000 are here, Frank. Incredible, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. You know, as I say, this is such a fabulous place to put a fight on. The atmosphere was amazing.
Yeah, the rain did mess it up. That's why I think it's a lot of empty seats.
Everybody stayed, watched it, and they were entertained. Entertained by 2 gladiators.
Like, it was pouring at one point in time. Pouring, like downpour.
Interim titles in Ipswich.
And it stays in Ipswich for now, Frank. Thank you very, very much, guys.
Let's see if we hear from Eddie Hearn.
Thanks, Eddie. I
Nope.
still can't quite believe what we have just seen. Fabio Wardley.
I met that Gareth Davies cat in New York at the Taylor, what was it? Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez. Look at the punch stats, by the way. Hope this don't freeze my computer. Don't freeze. So look at the punch stats. As you can see, before the fight was stopped, they go that code. They gonna get me, y'all. That's it. That's it. You seen it pop up? Well, anyway, the punch stats. 49 power shot. Well, let's go with total punches landed. 117 to 159. Huni led. 159 to 117. 342 of 330 thrown. When it comes to the power shots, 225 thrown by Huni versus the 113 thrown by Wardley. And 49 power shots landed by Wardley versus the 114 landed by Justice Huni. So Huni had all the makings to go on the cruise onto a win. And when you look at the shot that put him down, you got to think to yourself, hey, listen, like that was if not like the perfect shot. He fell right into it. Let's see if we can get let me see if I can find a replay. I got to be very careful because when something like this happens, the zone gets sand in their vaginas. And, they copyright just anything on your videos. So I'm trying to find the right clip. I had it and I took it off the screen. There it is. So once again, like, I mean, and look, it was, it's the perfect shot. And he had just the power to be able to make sure that perfect shot put this guy out. It was the perfect shot. And at this point, it was to a point to where Huni, he could have just cruised and just jabbed and moved around the ring, and he was already on his way to a unanimous decision. Maybe the cards would have been a little funky, but it was no way at this point that you could have robbed him, because at this point I had only gave Wardley 2 rounds, barely, 2 rounds, 2 rounds, and that was round 1 and 2, and 1 and 2 was kind of up for debate a little bit. So and the momentum of Huni falling into that shot. Look, he's on a downward trajectory, and look, didn't have his hand up. Like, you can't get a better shot than that. Look how he just look, and his legs, his whole core, and you can see they kind of go forward a little bit, like they came out from under him from the velocity of which way he went into the punch. So one more time before we get my colleague Big J on the line. So look at the forward momentum. Then and watch how like his legs gonna like come out from under him a little bit as they buckle. Like crazy. So we're gonna talk about the heavyweight division real quick before I get my colleague Big J on to get his thoughts. So looks like the winner as next month in July, the winner of Usyk and Dubois 2, the mandatory is going to be Joseph Parker. They're working on Moses Atama taking on Dylan White. Kubrat Pulev is the mandatory for Fabio Wardley. You know, Frank Warren's a smart promoter. He knows nobody wants to see or hear him talk about Kubrat Pulev, 44-year-old, by the way, and Wardley. But do not be surprised. That fight's going to happen. I see it happening. Well, for one, it has to happen, but Frank Warren already knows this. So, for example, as he said, you know, the undisputed championship is going to be decided again where Usyk can be a 2-time undisputed champion. At heavyweight, he'll be 3-time overall. If he recaptures that IBF back from Daniel Dubois, then Dubois will be number 1. The winner of that has to go on to fight Joseph Parker, the WBO interim. And then I believe the next mandatory is going to be Ijit Kabiel. The IBF doesn't have a mandatory because Dubois is already it. And then it would go down to the WBA, the winner of Pulev, Fabio Wardley, and it kind of recycles after that. So in reality, you know, Fabio Wardley ain't going to be getting an undisputed title shot no time soon. And that's why I was saying in the build-up video, he's kind of a part of that new blood of the heavyweight division of, you know, that younger class of guys going in as the older guard are going out. And Frank Warren pretty much alluded to that. So take a time out, like the video, subscribe, let's get my colleague Big J on the line. All right, so I got Big J on the line. We were just talking about before we, you know, hit record here that this fight went exactly how, you know, we were talking about it could possibly and did go in our preview videos about how Fabio Wardley is just barely scraping off of the domestic level. That's not a knock to him, but remember, he went 2 fights with Fraser Clark. You know, now, he beat all of his domestic rivals, and the Big Baby Miller fight, in my opinion, wasn't necessarily a step up. In fact, I feel that Huni is overall the better fighter. Now, to be very honest, I wouldn't mind seeing Huni go ahead and fight Big Baby Miller now. But as far as Huni's concerned, you know, as I talked about, I'm going to let Big J give his thoughts. He fell right into the perfect Wardley desperation punch. Wardley needed that. You could see in his body language, his demeanor in the corner, trying to giving pep talks to himself that, you know, it was pretty much over. And then halfway through round number 10, he found that power he's now 19-0 with 18 KOs. So no matter who he's knocked out, that power is legit and it's real. And with Justice Huni being the fighter that we've said he was with the issues with his chin, you know, however, you know, the hand speed was there. I can't really say too much about the power, but he did buzz Wardley a few times, you know, that was noteworthy in the fight. But I can just imagine how heartbreaking it is for a lot of Australian fans to be watching that and thinking, oh my gosh, we got a new heavyweight champion on the way. Wait a minute, Big J, y'all never had a heavyweight champion, have you?
Lucas Brown for like 3 seconds.
Oh, Lucas Brown. Ew, that WBA world belt. Well, this belt is under that. It's the interim. So, as I talked about, Fabio Wardley is going to go on the fight Kubrat Pulev after this. Frank Warren didn't want to mention it because, you know, nobody wants to see it, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. It's the fight that has to happen since all the championship mandatories are now set. For example, if Usyk goes on, if Usyk wins, he goes on to beat Daniel Dubois next month. They have to go immediately into a interim champion WBO Joseph Parker fight. Then it's going to be the WBC interim interim mandatory with Ijit Kabiel, and then it would reach Fabio Wardley. So Fabio Wardley is not going to sniff unless some old crazy politic or line jumping coming away. He's not going to sniff like an actual world championship fight for at least the next year and a half, maybe even longer, unless he possibly gets elevated. But I don't know. The heavyweight division is very top heavy. And one more note is there is now again, I don't know how it was allowed to happen, 3 champions for the WBA at heavyweight, with Usyk as the super, Kubrat Pulev at 44 as the regular champion, and now Fabio Wardley as the interim champion. All right, Big J, your thoughts on the fight?
Well, it was very similar for those Aussie fans. This is nothing new. This was very similar to Opke versus Mundine and Green versus Bloodcheck. Mundine was winning every round when he fought Opke in Germany. Got caught, I think, virtually the same round. I think exactly the same time, halfway through the 10th. And Green fought Bloodcheck in, when was that? Oh, shit, I can't remember now. I think it was 2010, maybe 12. Same thing. Green was winning every round, and Bloodcheck caught him in halfway through the 11th round. So this is nothing new for Aussie fans. This is just another Aussie that's gone overseas, gotten off the domestic level, fighting the fighter, who's on the domestic level, and unfortunately been knocked out. I mean, Justice looked good. He looked very good. He's got, as I said, he's got the hand speed and the footwork of a lightweight. The power actually looked a bit better, but I don't think he's got the power or the chin to survive at the top level of heavyweight, because I think he'll just get knocked out by everybody. I don't think, because if, I think Dubai would knock him out. Usyk would just outclass him. Zhang would knock his head off. I don't think he's got the chin. He hasn't got the power to keep those punches off him, right? He's got the skill set, but he doesn't have the power to keep them off him, and he doesn't have the chin to take their punches, because...
Especially a clean punch.
Yeah, I mean, because he took that clean punch and he was out, and it was only just a short little right cross too.
Yeah.
He walked straight into it, as you said. Now, a lot of people on social media, I looked at it, are saying that the count was short. I disagree. I saw that he might have got up before the 10 count, but that doesn't mean that you're good to go. He was all over the shop. He got up and he was stumbling. There was no way the ref was going to let him continue that fight, because he just would have got knocked down again. So people saying, it was a short count. He never made it to 10. I think he got up at about 8, and the ref just said,
Yep, he got up at 8. I'm playing a replay from the ringside camera from somebody that was recording, and his glove is still on the mat at the 8 count, and the ref waved it off. And then when he got up, he's still a little shaky.
Well, the ref made the right call.
Like, his glove was still, he was pushing off of his glove at the 8 count, and the ref waved it off. So
good call. Good call. And people are saying, it was a fast count. Well, that's bullshit. I mean, just because you get up doesn't mean that you're actually good to go. So,
in fact, the ref gave him, I just watched again, it was a 9 count. So yeah, it was over. And then as I'm looking at him, he's getting up. He's still a little bit shaky.
Yeah, so the ref made the right call. I mean, I think Wardley got that lucky punch in, but Huni fell straight into it. But then again, as I said, I don't think Huni is on the world level. And again, it proves, I mean, people can say, he fought a great fight. No, he didn't. He got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's not a great fight. People have been saying it for Mundine for 20 years against Opke. Oh, it was a great fight. No, it wasn't. He got knocked out. That's not a good result.
By the way, that Danny Green fight you were referring to, that was November the 30th of 2011, where he was up 96, 93, 97, 93 on the other 2 cards before he got knocked out in the 11th.
Yep, and another example. It's not a good fight. He got knocked out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Remember, it's a 12-round fight. You can get knocked out at any time. Same with flip the coin. Jeff "That Man" Hardy would beat Dennis Andrews. Jeff was losing every round of that fight, and Jeff knocked out Dennis in the last round.
Yeah.
So people can't say Dennis had a great fight because Jeff knocked him out.
So, I mean, now it's like, where do you go with Huni from here? I mean, well, he still is, young for the heavyweight division. He's a baby. He's 26 years old. He's literally a baby. The heavyweights in this era, they don't really really reach their prime until 32 and up. Yeah, like 30, so he's got time, but you can't train a chin, no matter how many boxers have tried that, once you start getting knocked down like that, he can be one of them type of fighters where he'll always look good until he get caught. That cloud is always going to be over him now. Where they're going to be waiting for it to happen.
Exactly. I mean, we were anticipating anyway, didn't you? Say that Wardley would catch him late in the fight?
No, I was wondering. No, actually, it went exactly how I thought. I mean, how I said it may go is just as Huni can box. He's gonna have to box the perfect fight, and he's gonna have to be able to keep Wardley off of him. And what's gonna happen if he gets cracked? He's gonna have to stay. He's gonna have. I was saying he was gonna have to take that power for 12 rounds, and he was the better boxer for those 10. Well, 8 of those 10 rounds. You can argue 9-1. 8-1 going into the 10th, but then it caught up with him. He got knocked out. So now, to be very honest, in this heavyweight division, I have concerns about him because all these guys are big, dynamic punchers. A guy like Martin Piccoli, all he needs is one. Richard Torres, all he needs is one. Moses Atama, all he needs is one. Filip Hrgovic, all he needs is one, and the list goes on.
Moses would have knocked him out even quicker. I think Moses
off of aggression, yeah.
Yeah, so because Fabio Wardley, he can be outclassed. I mean, he's proved that. So it was a classic puncher versus boxer scenario, but this is the time when the puncher actually won. Because most times when a puncher fights a boxer, the boxer just outclasses him. And it works him. But this is one of those occasions where the puncher got in the lucky counter punch and boom, down goes the boxer. Yeah,
and another Eddie Hearn fighter bites the dust. His whole stable is getting demolished.
Well, especially by Frank Warren. I mean, Frank's what, up 30-1 by
something
now?
Like that, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, Frank Warren must be killing himself, pissing himself laughing. He goes, another one bites the dust. Another Aussie comes up short overseas, just to go on the long list of Aussies that have come up short overseas. I mean, the heavyweight division is so piss weak in Australia. He can't come back to domestic level fighters because there's no one to fight.
There's no one to fight.
Right? There's not worth fighting. Not anyone worth
fighting.
Yeah,
he can't.
He can't
take. Go ahead.
Sorry. Turamori would be probably the only bloke, but he's only 7 or 8 fights in. He fights later today on the Jai Pataia card. That would be the only domestic level fight Justice Huni could have. Possibly, what's that bloke's name that Moses knocked out? Dempsey McKean. I mean that's still a interesting fight now, but that's about it. Justice needs to stay on the internet. But that's the thing. These Aussies go overseas. They have one fight on domestic level. They get knocked out. And you're like, well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
He's in a very, very difficult situation because Eddie must be going, well, now what do I do?
Well, for one, you don't want to let this momentum because no matter what, he still had a lot of eyes on him where people were like, whoa, this guy's kind of good. And you got to think he's still an Australian fighter where a lot of people didn't really know who he was coming into this week. So we knew about the issues with his chin and his hand, and we knew about the hand speed because, that was there. He was fast, he was sharp, good punch placement. But,
I don't think his hands look good. He was cracking.
Yeah.
I don't think his hands are a problem anymore. So,
yeah, but we knew there was a possibility of, we knew that the issues were there.
Yeah. But his real issue is the chin because I don't think his power's going to get any better because of his hands. It might over time, but his real issue is the chin. As you said, you can't train a chin. I mean, you can be one of the best boxers in the world. If you can't take a punch, you're going to go to sleep every time.
And then when you get knocked out, you come back even different, more cautious. So we don't know what type of fighters he's going to be when he comes back. But I say, they're in a tough position because you can say, okay, he's 26. They have the time in this heavyweight division, the way the landscape is, to try to spend the next 2-3 years building him back up for a title shot when he's 29. But at the same time, you got to find a good level of competition that, will have him growing as a fighter. It's going to take some really good matchmaking and promoting to get him back up to this level. And also, you have to also give him, the credit of stepping in as a late replacement. What has it been, about a month, about 5 weeks, give or take?
5 weeks.
Yeah.
5 weeks, yeah. So, I mean, you still got to give him credit for all the circumstances. He did extremely well, but he got caught. So, I mean, you can't discount for the fact that he was winning 9 out of 10 rounds of that fight.
Yeah.
Or even 8 rounds of that fight. So, I mean, let's be honest, Wardley got a lucky punch.
Yeah.
Wardley was losing
a punch he needed,
Yeah. He got a lucky punch. It wasn't exactly. But then again, I think the commentators said it, and I've said it before. Huni cannot get into dogfights with people because he'll get knocked out.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. I'm pretty sure a commentator said that too.
And he was starting to get overly aggressive, you know. And at that point, I think that I've been trying to look and see if they released a scorecard yet. But at that point, you know, he could have cruised to a win, just build up because Wardley was so gassed that, Huni just had to, make sure he kept up with the punch output, and he could have just won the rounds that way. But I get what he was trying to do, make a statement, go out there and knock him out, because you saw that's what he was going for, and especially with the way Wardley was falling all over the place. You could see in his body language that he was exhausted.
But Justice is one of the, he's a pressure fighter, volume puncher. He doesn't have the power to knock people out, so he's got to stick to that game plan.
Yeah.
Justice is going to be a guy who's going to win fights via decisions.
Yeah.
He's not going to knock people out. I mean, how many rounds did he take before he finally knocked out Paul Gallen?
Yeah, how about that?
And Paul Gallen's a 40-year-old ex-footy player.
Yeah.
So if you can't knock out a damn near 40-year-old ex-footy player, how are you going to knock out a primed heavyweight that can take a punch?
Yeah.
So, as I said, the second you step away from your game plan, things go awry, and that's what happened. I mean, he'll learn from it. I'm not prepared to write him off just yet, but it's like, God, he's going to have to make some dramatic changes because the game plan's there. He just needs to execute it 100%. Because the problem is with Justice is that, like the commentary said, he needs to fight the best fight every single time. He cannot make one mistake.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with Justice. He cannot make one mistake because he'll just get knocked out.
Well, that's a big fight that they can build up to in the future. Let's not forget him and Opataya. That can happen. If Opataya gets fed up enough with the cruiserweight politics that are going on, and we'll know more as the next couple of months play out on how the cruiserweight division is going to go. That's a possible fight for because you got to think that maybe Opataya is sitting looking and like, wait a minute, this guy has some issues with a punch, and I don't think he can hurt me.
Yeah, but why would?
I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about there's an option out there for I guess somewhat of a last resort of Justice Huni, and as you know, look how aggressive the Saudis are. So that's a possibility out there in the next couple of weeks that they can say, let's make Opataya versus Huni as Opataya's first or second fight at the heavyweight division, if depending on how fed up he gets with the cruiserweight division, if he's not able to get the big fights on Undisputed. But closing thoughts?
We saw it coming, so I'm not surprised it happened, but I'm sort of surprised the way it happened, if that makes any sense. So sort of surprised yet not surprised.
Yeah, I thought it would have happened earlier, or I didn't think it was going to happen where Huni was potentially winning the fight 8-1 or 7-2. I thought it would have happened earlier or in a closer fight.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's happened twice before with Mundine and Green, so this is just, rinse and repeat, because this has happened at least 2 times that I can think of in Australian boxing. So,
man. All right, well, closing thoughts.
He'll be back. Hopefully, he learns from it. We'll see what happens. On to Jai Patai this afternoon.
All right.
Kicks off at 4 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Yep, and that's going to be early in the morning for me. So we will be here covering the Opataya fight. We're going to be talking about the cruiserweight division as well. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Oh, and also we'll be here next week, even though I'm not really looking forward to it. But, who knows? Maybe something else will happen. We'll be here next week for George Kambosos getting another title shot against IBF 140-pound champion Richardson Hitchens in New York. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy and Big J at Old Mate Big J.